One of the dynamics going on here is a memory of Larry Meskin. Larry was a novelty in the field of dental education because he saw himself as a pioneer and really opened up the idea of looking at special needs patients and specifically the frail elderly. And so this conference is basically a reflection of what he thought about. And Larry and a group of us formed this Santa Fe group. And we called it Santa Fe because he and his wife had a home in Santa Fe. And we started this. And a small group, 6 or 7 people, thought that being catalytic to advance improvements in healthcare was a good thing to do. Most of us had dental backgrounds, then some people had business backgrounds and medical backgrounds, and then the array of public health orientation to molecular biology, etc. And in the course of these years, starting at about 1995, 96, so it's been going a bit, now there is this incredible opportunity to look at access to care, quality care, comprehensive care, not only for those of us who readily can afford it, but for those who are at the margins of society, often referred to as historically underrepresented minorities or underserved populations. And there's probably almost nothing worse than I can imagine that being elderly and poor in America, or a child poor in America. And so you need an advocacy. And this meeting and the gathering of all of us from all over the country is an attempt to focus on those issues. Well, we've obviously at one level, maybe up at 30,000 feet, we need to do more to remind all Americans that elderly people made a difference when they were younger, and many continue to make a difference as they're older. Sort of the respect for the elderly. So, this means when you think of popular television or motion pictures or flipping through magazines, that there is a representation. At one time we were concerned about our African American or Hispanic or Asian Americans represented. Now there's an advocacy for older women. Are they represented in fashion magazines? And we're beginning to see little glimpses that is often the case. But there is a tendency of being a youth-oriented culture, marginalizing the elderly. And once in a while, I'll look at an older person and they're bent over and they're sort of trying to navigate across a street or something. And it's very hard to say to myself, that was a jet pilot in Korea, or that was a parachuter in World War II, or something that the appearance of this individual does not convey. And I think we have some work to do as a culture, which would then influence priority setting, which would then influence budget allocations and how do we care for the elderly. And today's elderly are like a new organism, has creeped out of the woodwork, because when Medicare, earlier in the 30s when Social Security was crafted, we're supposed to die at 65. And when Medicare was crafted in the 1960s, again, they used the number 65. But the fastest growing population in America are 80 and older. We're not prepared. And many people in that population, they want to work, they want to engage, they want to be participants, they can vote, etc. And we're sort of reinventing how do you deal with a new creature who is becoming 16%, 17% here in Florida. I think the number they said 17% of the population. In California, it's about 13% of the population. we need to pay attention. Yeah, I guess I'm stuck with a legacy that other people put forth way before my time in history, and that is that in the United States, we need to rediscover that education, preschool, K-12, must be an entitlement for all Americans, and health must be an entitlement from prenatal care through hospice care. We cannot negate that responsibility. How to make it cost effective, how to use computer technology, how to use electronic records, all of that is wonderful. But to make healthcare a commodity, and if you can buy it, you get it, and if you can't buy it, you don't, to me strikes me as very un-American. And I think we need to remind ourselves there is a moral imperative and a practical imperative in keeping as many people healthy and vital as is possible, including educational renewal. We have a workforce that needs to be reinvented. So my fantasy is we'll get there, maybe slower than Scandinavian countries, but we'll get there.